Please help me get mother-in-law out of my marriage. I, 24 female, am at my breaking point here. I feel like I am out of options with my husband's, 27 male, mother, 53. Female. Sorry if this is rambling, I am just so frustrated and don't know where to start. Mother-in-law cannot get over the fact that her son is a grown married man with his own family. Mother-in-law leaves a few hours away and we see her for at least one but usually 2 weekends a month, which involves us staying at their house Friday to Sunday or them staying here. Dear husband calls her on the way to work every morning and there is a family group chat in which everyone is constantly updating each other on what's going on in our lives. If you saw my last post, there is a backstory on why I have finally confronted mother-in-law. But she always makes everything about her feelings and complains to dear husband that we don't see them enough and she misses us. She insists on being involved in all of our business and throws a fit when I tell her we're keeping something private or no. Mother-in-law said she was going to build a house next to hers. They have a large piece of land, so she could rent it out and then dear husband and I could move there when we moved to her town. I told her nicely we would not be moving to the lot next to them and she got really offended. Dear husband always wants to see them and for the last 3 years I have been dealing with about 2 long weekend visits a month, 4 week-long vacations, staying at their house for 1 to 2 weeks on holidays like Thanksgiving and Christmas, and I can't take it anymore. Mother-in-law sets me up to be a villain with dear husband just because I won't tell her every single detail of my life. Dear husband is in the fear, obligation and guilt state and I don't know what to do. I have taken him to therapy with me and he usually is upset by the time we leave and feels attacked. In the past, I have told dear husband to stop sending pictures of everything we do to the group chat and calling every day, but that just makes him sad and I don't want to be controlling. So now I just sit back and deal with the non-stop visiting and mother-in-law being the third wheel in my marriage. I just hate that I always turn out to be the bad guy. Mother-in-law is soft-spoken and short so everyone assumes she is no harm and can do no wrong. When she does stuff to me, dear husband always says she was just trying to be nice and I took it the wrong way. I can't do this anymore. Here is a short list of things she has done that everyone just blows off. Photobombed and came to my first look with dear husband at our wedding even after being asked not to several times before the wedding. Told the entire extended family dear husband's medical information while he was in the hospital after being told not to. I had to combine my bridal shower with my cousin-in-law because mine was the week my dear husband was in the hospital. I asked mother-in-law to tell everyone my cousin-in-law and I were combining showers beforehand and she didn't and the whole situation was very uncomfortable. Disrespecting the boundaries I set for when she comes to my house, doing laundry and dishes when being told not to multiple times, went under my kitchen sink and rearranged all my things. Volunteered to help me bake cookies for my wedding and tried to convince me to cancel and said she didn't want to help anymore, 11 days before my wedding. I could go on. And every time dear husband says she is just trying to help or be nice or it's because she loves us. No, she is just walking all over my boundaries. My husband is an only child. He never did anything bad and was always well behaved. He loves mother-in-law and father-in-law very much because they were always nice to him and in my opinion did too much for him. Basically, everyone was happy all the time and there were few hardships for their family. Despite the in my opinion terrible parenting, dear husband miraculously ended up as an extremely self-sufficient and independent person, but now he just thinks they are great and his mom doesn't do anything intentionally. Please help me because I cannot take this anymore. What do I do? I don't want to make my husband sad and I am sick of him and I getting in fights debating whether or not we see his family too much. Are there any books I can read on how to deal with difficult people or change myself so I can deal with and accept this situation? I thought once we got married mother-in-law would back down, but it's the opposite. I am miserable and don't know what to do. Update. Dear husband said he is going to call mother-in-law and tell her we need boundaries, and also tell her she needs to apologize to me for her last text to me, mentioned above. It didn't take him any convincing to do this so I'm assuming he ran into this post. Also, thank you all so much for your advice and especially for the book you guys recommended, Toxic In-Laws, Loving Strategies for Protecting Your Marriage, link in the description box below. and I immediately started implementing some of the tips from the book which really helped moving forward. I also wrote them out so we have something solid to look back on. Newly married, disabled mother-in-law is about to ruin my entire life. Not sure what to do. Need some advice. Hi Reddit, I turn to you in my time of need. I, 27 male, just got married to the most wonderful woman 2 weeks ago. She thinks as I think, she is a kind, sweet lady who just wants to make people happy. She's incredibly responsible and generally perfect. What's not perfect is her mom, 57 female. She's about to be evicted from her home, and has alienated her entire family, with the exception of my wife, and has failed to take steps to react to the situation, which will result in her probably needing to move somewhere at the last minute, in 2 weeks, and I really don't want to have to deal with her, but she has nowhere else to go. I need morality advice, I need logistical advice, I need just some general reassurance that I'm being reasonable given that she's created this situation. Now, usually I'm not the kind of a person to badmouth someone behind their back, but I would be lying if I didn't make opinions on this lady. Wife's mom is a single, physically disabled, and mentally disabled independently living hoarder. She has some mental issues which cause her to be very difficult to deal with, most notably that her stories don't go anywhere, so when I ask a question like, "Did you contact a lawyer to deal with this problem?" she will go into an in-depth 15-minute story first detailing every detail of her story, including other people's opinions and circular connections to the point that the question may not be properly answered and I have to eventually cut her off. She lives in a home about 3 miles from where I and my wife just moved, and she has lived there for over 15 years. The property she lives in is a double bungalow, and has been sold and rebought by different owners 3 times now. The current owners would like to sell the property, but are not able to do it effectively with her living there. Due to her being a hoarder, the house is literally at capacity while still being presentable, and there is not a single square of space left in the garage or storage rooms in the house. And having 4 pets, 2 cats, 2 dogs, all of which are strays and not super hygienic, her main dog, her companion animal, has breath that could metaphorically kill someone if in the same room. So, the landlords gave her a 60-day eviction notice that they are not going to renew the lease at the beginning of September. She thinks that this is retaliation for her complaining about them charging for water when the property does not have the proper metering equipment to gauge water consumption. She has apparently contacted legal aid in this matter, and legal aid sent back a letter saying that should she try to fight a retaliatory action for her exercising her rights in court, that she would need to prove that the eviction was in retaliation for exercising her rights, but she has no evidence towards that end. In the meantime, I gave her a cheap computer a few months ago, and she has learned how to use it at the coffee shop, and has used it to mostly spend her time looking for investors to buy the property so she can continue making Section 8, a local form of welfare for housing, payments on the property. She has contacted such far-fetched solutions as local philanthropists and the TV show host Ellen. Legal aid has advised her that she can optionally try to stay in the house, and that is her prerogative, then fight the eviction in court, but if she does so and loses her court case, which she likely will, they advised her in big bold letters to not do this. She loses her current housing accommodations which have been grandfathered in for 20 years, giving her a nice home-sized property which can accommodate dogs and her disabilities. She would have to reapply for housing assistance, which would likely result in much smaller apartment-sized accommodations. If she moves out before the eviction deadline, October 31st, then she can retain that plan. She has an entire house worth of hoarder's stuff to move out, and no plan to move it, or anywhere to go. Meanwhile, my wife and I, who just got married and had our entire wedding really messed up by bringing her in town, and dealing with her mental outbursts and personality conflicts during the wedding, as well as our being totally broke due to a wedding that just happened, are probably at this point her only option to turn to. And she had 2 months to prepare for this event, as well as legal aid telling her she should not go to court because she will lose. I just found out about how screwed she is pursuing a legal solution to this problem. I just realized yesterday that she will probably be living in my spare bedroom for the next 6 months. She has 4 pets that can't move in here, and most of the possessions need to be stored and thrown away, and you know how hard that is to do for a hoarder if you've ever seen an episode of the TV show. She has nobody to turn to but me, the son-in-law, and I am currently broke. I also have almost no open schedule to help her pack/unpack in the next 2 weeks. The next 2 Sundays are free, I guess, and certainly not enough to inventory/pack her entire house, which she certainly can't do, or move her anywhere. If I had 2 months' notice, which she did but didn't tell me, then maybe it could work. What is reasonable here? What do I do? Do I just let her fail? Do I even have a choice? Is there some unwritten rule that you have to put your whole life and future plans/peace and quiet on hold for a dependent family member who has nowhere else to turn to? Is this totally her fault because she didn't make plans ahead of time? Is this not her fault because she clearly doesn't have the mental aptitude to deal with this situation logically? How do I save my sanity and my marriage and be a good person? How do I deal with her having 4 pets, one of which she is really attached to and none of which I want in my house? I jeopardize my own lease? Finally, the wife, who grew up with her mom and also moved out of her home ASAP due to her mental imbalanceness, is frustrated at her mom's lack of problem-solving process, and said that we couldn't jump in and save her at the last minute, which it now is. We had a discussion and she sees things the same way as I do, which is, we would rather not take her problems or her moving in unless there is an unwritten social rule that says we have to. It's much too much work for us, but we have no idea what other options she, the mother-in-law, has. TL/DR. Disabled mother-in-law who means well is being evicted and believes a magic philanthropist will solve her problems for her. Has 2 weeks to move, is a hoarder, is broke, has no way to avoid the legal revocation of her living conditions in 2 weeks. Has ignored her state-provided legal advice, has no advocates, probably has to move in with me because she has alienated her whole family. I want nothing more than to give her advice on how to not leave with me, but I don't reasonably know what other choices I have. I live in Minnesota if that is any relevance. Any advice or analysis on just how screwed I am is appreciated.